It's interesting that in the time of a prime minister for whom personal loyalty
Yes.
was so important.
Yes.
And
That's
the
why
worst,
that's why it's in the book. Yes.
yeah, the worst thing you could do to Brian Mulroney was
Yes.
betray him.
Yes.
But this book is just full of
Is that
betrayal.
funny? Absolutely.
Everybody's betraying,
Absolutely.
and especially themselves.
Absolutely.
Is that a key thing for you too?
It's not a key thing. Well, it's a key thing for me as an Ottawan. It's a key thing for me as someone who lived through the Mulroney era. It's a key thing as someone who wondered whether Brian Mulroney was a good guy or not. And his loyalty to his friends would indicate that he's a good guy, but there are times in which he was not loyal to kind of higher causes, I think.
Like his country, for instance.
Yeah. Let us not go there. But, the idea of betrayal in the Mulroney era is like so interesting. And that's why, the novel says, like, the city takes on the personality of the prime minister. And it's really, in a way, a novel about what Brian Mulroney's mark upon that city is. And that's this questioning of logic. That's the idea of, the prison, how much money for it, who does it, all of this stuff, is woven into the way the city is. Moral questions, loyalty questions, and betrayal.
Let's talk about the prison, which figures all the way through.
Yeah.
All the way through the book. A name for one of Canada's
less well-known prime ministers. And people don't know whether to say Mackenzie Bowell or Mackenzie Bowl.
Yeah, it's Bowl, isn't it?
I think so, but I say Bowell.
Well, for all
it's Colin Powell.
Yeah, it would make sense. He was one of those ones when you had to name the prime ministers of Canada, I always forgot.
Of course you would.
And looking in the history books, I think for fairly good. I can't think of anything the man actually.
No, I know. He's not one of the.
That's why you picked him, because
of course, but also because. It amused me for 10 years to think Mackenzie Bowell. So it was really a cheap grade 1 joke in a way. But the idea of it is so, on the surface of it, absurd. But it makes so much sense to Franklin. This is what I am. This is this idea that I've been waiting to get. And he's logical in how he thinks of this as being like, yes, art does mean something. Therefore, if we could only get these rapists and prisoners to really live in art, we could change them. As one person points out, the Nazis liked Mozart. Maybe there's something that art can't do ultimately, but he won't accept that, and so he goes forward and forward and forward. And what happens is that he becomes the person who, in a way, is the most barbaric. He is able to perpetrate on these innocent people. Like real violence and horror, and so it's a very interesting journey. Starting off with this brilliant idea, alba meaning white, and this idea that art can transform, and it does transform. It transformed him into something that is really, really horrifying by the end. And then at the very end, he's pathetic. He's standing by these vaguely Italian and Romanate buildings and trying to convince himself that whatever he has gone through has been worth it because this exists.
A lot of people are going to say that there's a certain irony in a book set in Ottawa to be called Asylum, being as how it's full of people we think of as raving lunatics, or people shut away from the world.
Yes.
Deliberate choice on your part?
Definitely. Definitely playing on it. But, also definitely playing on... it's funny, with this book, with the previous books, I never read my criticism. I hated reading criticism because I just found it too painful. With this one, I decided to read them because, in a way, I have to say this book marks a real kind of passage in my life. Before writing this book, I felt like I was trying to be a writer, and after writing this book, I felt like I had committed, that this is what my life was. And I knew, and it's partly what allows me to sort of get it out of my system, is that I knew that this was a commitment to this thing and that I had made it, and it was huge. But one of the most encouraging things was a review in the Vancouver Sun by M.A.C. Ferrand, who caught the references to Dante, caught that it was 3 parts, caught that it's about moral decisions and punishment, and then obviously forgiveness and mercy at the end. And I was really grateful for that, and that really is one of the things. I'm grateful that she caught it, but that was one of the things that allowed me to think of Ottawa as both heaven and hell. You know, that it's both of those places. It's a place that there are obviously schemers and very odd people in, but there's also the possibility of love. There's the possibility of all of these things, as there is in any city. You know, it's kind of accidental that Ottawa is my city. I came to it from Trinidad when I was really young, and I was conscious of seeing the world. Certainly seeing North America, but seeing the world, like, I mean, it was new. Snow, the trees were different, everything was different. And so, in a way, I was awake at my own birth with Ottawa. And so that's why the kind of perspective that I have on it is from everything, that everything is wrong, but everything is also right. And that's kind of like the depth of the relationship with the city, which I tried to show, you know, that there's so much to a city in terms of interactions, people, strange choices, good choices, really tricky to understand choices, morally amoral people, amoral with a bit of morality. There's the whole range there.
The book is Asylum. I've been speaking with the author, Andre Alexis, and Asylum is published by McClelland and Stewart.